So far, we've been going deep into the skeletal system of design. More importantly, the first 4 days was very crucial. I hope you must be understanding the reason why we need to have a skeletal before we start doing design, right? Just to recap, we saw about the information architecture, user flow, wireframes, hierarchy. Today, we're going to have something very interesting which is called design frameworks. Let me tell you why it is very important. The reason because many designers are not following the frameworks with respect to following a process in design. See, design system is something very different. In fact, I wanted to clear this confusion before we start. Design system has a lot of elements, colors, typeface, and a system to continuously build a new product out of it. Framework is something which you build only for that particular product or project or something like a one localized system. Frameworks will help you to scale up your designs internally in your project. Design system is something very different. Okay, so the framework is like a skeleton, and in the full body, the skeletal system is very important, right? So something like that, what we say. And more importantly, many designers, you know what they do? They copy frameworks blindly without understanding and doing it. Many times, even when they take elements or components from the design systems or anything on the online, they don't understand the meaning behind it, right? So it is not backed up with a proper UX decision. That's very important thing. And more importantly, too much frameworks if you have internally inside your system, you tend to get confused. So there is an order, there is a format to follow it. Okay, so treat framework as your final design is something completely wrong, because that is a very instant, a temporary work for you. Okay, so that is exactly called framework. What is mean by design framework, Jagadeesh? Like, let's say if you have to tell me the explanation, it is exactly the rib cage of a design. Like, you tend to create some kind of a components, you tend to kind of create a variables, you tend to create some kind of a color system, elements, typeface, buttons in a application and website. I'm saying it will become exactly the rib cage for a design. More importantly, it provides repeatability. Like, let's say you don't have to do every time again and again and again. That creates a huge confusion as well for you, right? So this is the main reason we are using it, and it ensures features protected by a proper logic. It connects with the earlier system also, what we saw, which is information architecture, user flow, wireframes, and architecture. It's as simple as that. This is going to be completely a foundation for making your projects very faster, more scalable when you're collaborating with all the designer. Clear? Just to give a little bit history, this is inspired from architectural blueprint. It's emerged in development background in Bootstrap and other grid systems for all of the people to start using it. You can also read this book called Atomic Design by Brad Frost. It's a formalized concept. He brought this terminology into the world. IBM, Google Carbon Design System, Material Design, as well as Apple Design System, Polaris, Airbnb, all these people follow this framework methodology. Okay, and UX schools now teach this as a main subject. Previously it was not there, but people are now understanding the importance of it. Why? Because this creates a lot of clarity when you're working in a team. This also helps you to understand when you're applying for a job or showing your portfolio. Hiring manager tends to understand your thought process behind building it very clearly. Let's say if you're making a complex SaaS dashboard or maybe a complex user journey in fintech or e-commerce, it will be much scalable. Huge time it saves, as well as it is a framework mastery which will make you structured as a designer, right? Okay, Jagdish, what are the core elements of it? Layouts and grids and spacing is one of the core elements of it. Like, let's say if I have to open Figma, like let's say if I have to press create a frame and show you, the moment when you press F, you can import whatever screens you want, let's say. Okay, so inside this frame, if you just go to this design option, you can also create something called layout guide. Can all of you see? Like, let's say you can also create 5 grid system, right? Like, let's say I can create something like 50. Just a second. Yeah, I've just created a very small grid system, but let me keep it even more bigger. Imagine, see, now I've created a 50 pixel 50 so that each and every screen and a frame follows a grid. So I can able to go and keep all the elements consistently into it. This is exactly kind of called a rib system inside your design. Without following a grid, you may tend to make some screens which is totally non-sync for your design. This is the first important element. I just want to recap you. The second is type scale. In fact, the first point I wanted to say, you need to logic with the space whatever you're having. Like, let's say if you're having this particular space, you need to understand whether your competitor is having this or whether your product is very similar to any of the product which you earlier made. So there is some kind of a logic which you need to follow, and you can precisely change everything. Like, let's say if you want to change this color to even pure red or maybe white, you can do whatever you want. It's totally fine, and it's totally up to you. Okay. And also you can see something like 30% thickness will come. And more importantly, more than grid system, you can also keep columns. If you want to create something like a vertical scroll, let's say if you're making a website, it'll be much useful. Let's say if you want to create a rows, you can create it. So these are all the basic elements when you're creating your solutions for the users in the form of screens and websites and application and everything. And you can go and play around with this. You can also create some styles for it. You can replicate the styles, so all of the team members can use the styles very easily. You can go and click this option called style. You can tell style 1, okay, concept 1, trial, right? You can see all of them can use it for trial testing. You can just go and add whatever content you want, and you can also add more properties. Like, let's say people can use that tile, you can create it. So the moment is when I create another frame, like let's say if I'm creating another 16 Pro Max, the moment when I go and click it, if I click this layout guide, if I put this, it will automatically come. Can all of you see? It is more scalable, more repeatable, and more mistakes will come. So it all depends on the information what you code inside the system. The second is type scales. This is very important. Like, let's say there is a plugin inside Figma which is called type scale. It's very interesting, and you can try to use it. I'll show you the template so that you can understand. So this is called exactly type scale. Hey, what is this, Jagadish? Whenever you're scaling a typeface size with respect to heading, subheading, or maybe a subtext, or maybe a information, or maybe just a small note or a caution, you need to have a scalability for it. Like, let's say this is exactly 6. What if I make 4? Can all of you see? On a 4 pixel, it is coming down. You can also see that the rem is being read by developers in terms of their language. Pixel is what a designer takes, right? So, like, let's say you can also have the scale factor as -2 or maybe 0 or maybe something like more. Like, let's say if you have a bigger document, if you have a more lengthier statements, or if you're making a big banner or a posters, so you can tend to put whatever scale you want. 2 is typically good, right? So the moment when you do it, and then you can also scale up this thing. Let's say if you have a design system which is making you follow the scale should be 1.5x, or maybe the baseline should be 24. That's a brand guideline. Like, let's say if it's 12, so whatever is your design base brand guideline, or maybe the design system what is being there, change that. Once you do that, click this option called generate. The moment when you click generate, can all of you see here? This is a very faster way to create more scalability and consistency inside your system. This is why you need to have framework inside your project. It creates a huge amount of consistency. It creates a huge amount of scalability and speed inside the system, and you can just save it. You can even you can save this style, and you can start working on it. See, even you can create a component out of it so that you can drag and drop again and again to modify it, right? You can also create an auto layout so that it gets fixed, so that you can reuse it again in your whole design screens and everything. So there are a lot more options available. You can just keep on exploring this. You can explore this type scale for your own design system, and you can duplicate. You can in fact change the color if you want. Like, let's say if you want to put any red color for it, you can do it. It's totally fine. And see, can all of you see? You can create a component around it. So the moment when you create component, so what happens? Can all of you see? So no matter what, if I go to the assets, all of my components are saved here. I can reuse it over and over again inside my document. I don't have to tell my team, hey, you just change the typeface to 24. Change the typeface color to red, which is in this RGB code. I don't have to tell them. It's automatically been coded, so that I can just drag and drop it and start using it across my project. See? And also color states and semantic meanings can be changed. So let's say if I have to show you what exactly is the color scale and how you can change the state also when inside the application, I'll give you the option in Figma. You can try to use it. Okay. But let me explain the core elements. D, it is more reusable. It is more reusable with respect to creating buttons, with respect to creating forms or any pop-ups or notification. In fact, the C and D is one of the most important thing if you're making a design very scalable. And then E is called interaction scaffold. So what does mean by interaction scaffold? See, this is like same like a building scaffold. What we have a structural UI pattern that supports user interaction in a more repeatable way. I just want to highlight this word repeatable. The word repeatability is actually been again and again used. Why? Because when you're making a system more scalable, this is very important. It seems like a ribs protects and supports your organ. See, they are not actually your final design. I just want to reiterate again, but this will be reused across your components so that it's more consistent and predictable and scalable. Like let's say, I'll give you one example. I'll give you one example. Like let's say if you're building another frame here, okay, press the F shortcut for using frame. Okay, you can go to your design system and you can just try to see what exactly is your. I'll bring all libraries. Okay, look at this. So I can just take one screen example, like an iPhone 16, right? Something like that. I'm just putting it. I can also try to see what else is available. Like let's say if I have to really bring the screen, I can use this option. So like a more like a web page. Let's do something like a mobile. You can put any keywords. You'll find any options available for your icons. Yeah, you can try to put it here. Like let's say if you want to put this hand icon. Let's say I'm just showing you an example, okay? And you can use any kind of a icons which Apple is using it for its own designs. Like let's say if you want to use video. Okay. So all of these things are very, very useful when it comes to. Yes. So now I'm just downloading all the icons, whatever is available for me, and I'm trying to take the examples to show you. Like let's say if I put a lot of icons, you get a lot of icons over here. Okay. You tend to put this icon, maybe you can say I can go to the community of the Figma as well as I can take a lot. I can take from my existing projects. I can also find it from the design systems, whatever is added. Like let's say I can put this entire design system. I can put this Figma design system and the Google Carbon material design system. I can import as much as possible so that I can find out a lot of options over here. Like let's say I can bring the pictures, I can bring the icons, I can do simple form downloads. Like let's say I'm just giving you an example. Like let's say if this is a form, okay, I'm just creating a small example for you. Maybe I'll just show you how we can able to create some more example over here. Okay, we will do it here. Super. Right, so I'm just showing an example for you. Like let's say if we have to create a very, very scalable frameworks for each and every design components for you, you just have to click this. The beauty about downloading this systems from the material design which is available normally in the assets is you tend to see that this entire system is being fed with a precise level of control. Like let's say even if you double click it, you can go and edit each and every component what you want. This is the beauty about this thing. Okay, like let's say even you can go and click this button and you even assign this kind of like let's say if a person is, like let's say you can use this option to even create an icon over here. So this is like a intersection what you are creating over the like let's say the options inside the icon, inside the buttons, inside the text, inside the what do you call the component set what you're trying to create. In fact, this is called a boolean set. Okay, in fact you can create more options. You can create double side icons, like let's say more, or you can reduce this. So as much as possible, if you want, you can able to create it. As of now I'm just keeping it same. So let's assume if I have to click this option, okay, the next screen it has to come like maybe a hoover. Let's assume this has been interacted by the user. Like let's say if the user is going to go and scroll through this maybe the hover through this button, it has to change its color, it has to change its state. So what I can do, I can go and click this. I can create a prototype from this screen to this screen, imagine. Okay, while hovering, change to change to neutral. Clear? So now let's go and see how this prototype really works in the real time. Okay, you can drag and drop this kind of a prototypes so that you can very well create the component out of here. Okay, can all of you see here? And when you look at this, like let's say when I move this mouse, it changes the state. Why? Because while we are deciding that, while we double click this, I also created the prototype in a way. If I click this option, I will be able to see. Look at this. Look at this. Imagine. So when I click this option, it will go into a neutral or a subtle state. Whatever I've kept, like let's say you can take hover. Okay. If you wanted to have a disabled also, you can do. Like let's say if you're creating a payment system where the user should not able to click, or maybe the e-commerce website where the user should not click, or maybe it is not allowed until unless a condition is met. So you can predefine it. This is the advantage of using the existing design system which is there. Like this is like a simple framework what you can already use. Here also you can add, if you want, icons also and everything you can add over here. But the point is, the moment when you click this option and then when you click prototype, you will see the option here. Okay, maybe it's not changing. I'll have to link the prototype clearly. Okay, just a second. This is the primary button and this is a state which has been hovered, and I have to check on hover. It has to navigate to this screen. Okay, maybe in this screen I can also go and change the state. I can go for design option and I can go and see neutral, right? If I click this option, if I click prototype, you'll see. Can you see here? The moment when I bring the mouse over here, it changes. So you can create the prototype also, the state changes. In fact, if you want, you can create a localized option also so that the conditions apply and the variable changes. You can do it both the ways, both are possible. Or you can do one more state also, one more way of method also. Like let's say, if you want, you can bring one option over here. Example I'm giving, okay? You can create a simple button over here. Okay, and if you want, you can drag and drop some icons. I'm just showing it from the scratch so that either way it's possible you can do. Like let's say I'm using this option called alert. Okay, I'm just pressing T for text. Okay, alert, imagine. Okay, I'm just creating this option of black color and I am increasing this typeface size. Let's say I want to increase it to some other color. In fact, all of these things are Google material design system already aligned. So I'm not able to change anything. If I have to override it, I'll have to probably click here and then I'll have to change this. See, it changes over here, but let's not change it. Let's keep the old way alone because all these things are proven design material system which is available. This is the advantage of using the proper frameworks for your existing project. I can create any heading. Like let's say probably heading, right? This is a little bigger. Maybe heading itself is like this. Yeah, maybe I can create it here. Yeah, it looks a little bigger, right? So now this is available here, right? So the point is, again, it becomes subheading. I want to create it like a heading. Yep. So now this is a button which is having the text, which is having the icon. From the scratch I'm building. You can select this, you can create right click and then you can create it like a component, right? The moment when you create it like a component, it will appear in your assets. Can you see here? See, created in this file. Can you see here? So the beauty about this is how much ever times you want, you can go and import this component. It's totally fine. And the beauty is whenever you're changing anything, like let's say this is called alert one, you'll see that the entire place is getting replicated over there. This is a very simple way of scaling the component. And you can add more variables towards it. You can just click a right option and then you can add variant towards it. Can you see? You can add one more variant. There is an option over here. Okay. So like let's say if I want to use this button in hundreds of screens, you don't have to copy paste in hundreds of places. Okay, you just have to create one component and you can create a scale. Listen to me carefully. Now I want to change this particular option. Let's assume I want to fill this option with a little darker color maybe. Okay, I want to just change this color, maybe like this, a little color. Okay, I want to just change it, and this is like, I want to change it into black, and I want to change this text typeface into white. I want to change this icon also into white. Maybe this is not the correct one. Yeah, now I can change it into white. I can do the custom color because I'm not following the design guidelines. I'm just taking it out. Okay, and I want to just fill this with a stroke, right? I can put a stroke over here. No, this is not a stroke. Yes, now I can go and put the stroke. I can put white as a stroke. So the beauty is I can create a localized components and the variables around it. Here I can go and give a prototype. Let's say this option while hovering will change to variant 2. Yeah, maybe you can add this variant 2 into, let's say, if you want you can edit this variant also so that you can put it like a hover. That is totally possible. Okay, and then the moment when it is clicked here I can also change this to, let's say, when a user is tapping, probably I think this I have not changed it to drag. There's a hover. Okay, on tap and change this to variant 3. Can you see over here? This is the first variant. When it is clicked, it will change into this state. And the second, when it is changed into this, I have to probably use tap. I can change it to variant 3. I can use smart animate, whatever option I want. Okay, probably I can delete this part. So the first animation what we are planning, let's say if you're putting a lot of interaction, you got confused, you can just go and remove all the interactions. You can plan it from the beginning. Okay, so you can just create one prototype first for hover. If the option hovers, probably it has to change to this red color. This is a variant 2. Okay, and once it has been done, you can give another option from here. You can add one more prototype and you can change this option to on tap, change to variant 3, right? So the beauty about this is, let's say if I have to use this button over here, example I'm giving, can all of you see the prototype has this option? Example, if I move this, it will change to the red color here. Probably I've not given the black color properly, that's why it is showing like that. But see, if I click this, it will become black in color. Can all of you see this? Can all of you see this? So the beauty is I can go and do as much ever prototypes as I want, but I have to just make it in one screen. See, I have to just make it in one screen so that it's getting done very, 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 very fast. Okay, I've just already created this. Okay, yeah. So how much ever times, let's say even if I have to delete this, maybe I'll try it one more time. I'll just put it over here, right? Imagine this prototype is coming. Can you see here? The moment when I move the mouse, it changes into the state. Why? Because here we have given the interaction prototype like that. Here we have also given the option when it is clicked, it will change into this black color button. So if I move this here, it will change. If I click this, it will become black. So imagine if you're creating a component 1, button 2, button 3, let's say form 1, form 2, you can create as much as subsystems and components you can create, and you can define the state. So let's say if you're building 150 screens or 200 screens, you just have to make one change, it will automatically replicate to all. So this is the beauty about having a proper system. You can do it for drawers, you can do it for wizards, maybe step-by-step flow. You can also do it for pop-ups, let's say if you want to show any kind of overlay over the window, you can use that. Let's say if you see inside the prototype, there is an option. Okay, just hold on, I'll show you. You can play around with this option. Can you see here? There is an option called overlay. You can also try that. Open overlay. So you can just create an overlay so that you can go and get it back to there. So experiment with all these options. You will come to know there are various possibilities you can create and play around with this. Let's say, are you sure want to delete? Maybe this could be a good example. Maybe like a drawers slide in panel. Panels that slide from side bottom to extra info action. Maybe this is also a good way of filtering it. Third, wizard, step-by-step flows, multi-step guided process for complex step. In fact, if you're using a SaaS dashboard platforms for onboarding or for checking out the entire task management system, you can create this thing. So if you're working with this, you will be able to save a lot of time in your design organization when you're working on a product development lifecycle. Because each of these things, if you do it individually, you'll take at least 2 days to complete each and every screen. And if any change comes, you will have to do it again. So that is the reason why, because many design studios, many big product design firms are following a particular framework. See, you can do it for padding, you can do it for font, you can do it for text, you can do it for color, you can do it for button. You don't have to reuse it at all. You just have to use the type scales, you just have to use the component, and whatever color grid you want, you can automate it. Something like same like I told you. And it becomes very easy for the users to also become a predictable. It becomes very easy for the designers as well as the developers for them to have a predictability. Okay, it reduces the development quality checking time by up to even 40%. This is exactly the two advantage. In fact, you can use this tool called Relium. Much of your website frameworks can be created over there. This is very important. And then there is something called auto layout. Like, let's say if you're auto locking all of this buttons, text and everything, you can use it into as much ever places as you want in the entire file. And more importantly, if you use ChatGPT, you can also define tokens. Maybe in the upcoming videos, we'll see more about this tokens. There is another application called UIUX. You just have to give a prompt, it will give whatever we have done. It's a beautiful tool. ChatGPT framework is one of the basic important things to feed all this AI tool, because see, this is an AI tool. This is an AI tool. This only works based on the prompt. Okay, and then you can also use a tool called page draw for development framework sync. Okay, the reason why we are doing all this frameworks and everything is everybody needs a proper structure which is more repeatable and easy. Consistency builds patterns, then it becomes very predictable. Same like the scaffolds of a building which has an even size and structure and modularity, people make it very faster. Even when you're handing off this file to another designer at the end who is sitting in US or UK or some other places, he'll be able to start the work immediately in the next minute. Familiarity reduces the cognitive load, and framework uses the trust. I mean, it's actually the trust like the backbone of the body. I want to tell you 63% of the failed app lacked scalable frameworks. Framework driven team ships 2 times faster product design. Something like Apple and Samsung and Google, they launch product every single year. Familiar framework improves onboarding up to 30%. Without framework, 4x more errors and usability and heuristic problems will happen. 80% of the hiring managers expect that in your portfolio. Yes, this is very, 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 very important. End of the day, we are all working for that, right? If you're looking for a job or looking for an opportunity to become a senior designer or a lead position designer in a firm. So the call to action is, you can also DM me like ribcage, okay? After watching this in the YouTube or Instagram, me and my team will send you a framework starter kit where you can just drag and drop these templates and try to reuse it. I'll also suggest you one tool. In fact, you can use this tool called Mobin. Okay, this is an amazing tool which you can use. Yeah. So the beauty about this tool is you can try to take as much as components as everything for layout and inspiration and everything. Okay. In fact, if you want, you can click this option called flows. Can all of you see? You can in fact find a lot of user flows which is available. Okay, can you see here? Flows. Creating account, flows. Can all of you see? So the beauty is you can directly copy paste into Figma and then you can start dragging and dropping and using it. So this has a lot of templates. You can go and access it in the free account itself. Okay, so you can try that resource, and then practice as much as ideas as possible from your visual mind. I mean, from your thought process into a visual framework in the Figma or Miro or anything, and you can bring all of this framework draft to the Sunday workshop, which is going to happen this week. The link will be shared in the description for you. So once you come into this Designverse workshop, it will happen for 4 hours. Where I'll take all of these learnings, I'll try to put it into a portfolio. I'll try to make this portfolio which is more sellable for industry to get your 3x salary, where I'll also help you in targeting the right product design studio where this knowledge is being placed. If you're looking for a service-based studio, most of the people will not even understand anything because they do only laboring job mostly, right? But when you go for a product design studio where all of these things comes in a very system, a scale, a kind of repeatability, a modularity, so these ideas will be very valued in your portfolio when you pitch your portfolio to a product-based design studio. So come and attend my 4 hours design workshop where I'll tell you how to use this into a job search strategy, and I'll teach you how you can use it into your portfolio to start building multiple projects and use cases around it. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching me. Tomorrow we'll see you with another interesting topic. Bye-bye.